Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so this is your annual reminder on health and safety. So your fourth years postgrads, most of you are hearing this for 4 or more times. Okay, we're going to just go through PPE, safety equipment, fume hoods, and chemical waste disposal. So it's just a timely reminder to wear our PPE correctly. Okay, so we want them to look more like this individual on the left and less like this guy here on the right. All right. So PPE, first part, lab coats, okay? Wearing your lab coats correctly, okay? So they're meant to there to protect against chemical spills. Orla has just mentioned it there. One of the most frequent accidents is a chemical spill, okay? One of the ways of preventing that or limiting the damage is make sure you have your lab coat on, fully buttoned up, and the sleeves rolled down. Tie back any long hair, or don't wear dangling necklaces or anything that might certainly catch fire or present a hazard. Lab glasses, okay? Most important in terms of protecting your eyes, okay? It's one of these injuries that if you do get it, it can be really, really, really serious, okay? So lab glasses should be worn all the time. Do not wear lab glasses on top of your head, okay? At this stage, and I often have to remind even fourth years, if your glasses are scratched and you can't see through them, that's not an excuse to have glasses on top of your head. Get new glasses, okay? Or learn to treat them with a little bit more caution, okay? Don't put them into a pencil case or something that's going to cause scratches, okay? Normal glasses do not count. You still have to wear a pair of protective goggles over them or get prescription safety glasses. And the exception is microscopes. So this is something that's monitored fairly strictly, okay? There's audits ongoing, and at this stage, it's embarrassing to have to be told to put on your safety glasses in a lab, okay? And if you have to come in front of the Health and Safety Committee, and I'm on it as well, you know, you're not going to get an easy time. So make sure wear your lab glasses. Also, in terms of setting an example to first years, second years, and third years, okay? You're the kind of the senior people on the B corridor at this stage. If you're going around without your lab glasses on, it's setting a very poor example. So wear your PPE correctly. Hand protection. It says there's gloves available in every lab, okay? So you got your nitrile gloves. Use them when you're working with chemicals, okay? So get into the habit of wearing them. So nearly all PPE, it just should become like second nature, like putting a seatbelt on when you sit into a car. You don't necessarily think about it, you just go in and you do it. If you're allergic to nitrile, you can use latex gloves, but latex gloves offer obviously much less protection, so you must wear a nitrile glove over it. If you're using autoclaves or dealing with any hot beakers or anything like that, get heat-resistant gloves. They should be available near the autoclave or also from the technician's office. Shoes, okay, feet. Well, there's not an official dress code. Your feet shouldn't be exposed, okay? That goes for the boys and the girls, okay? Make sure your feet aren't exposed, so no open-toe flats or ballet flats. You want to offer as much protection to your feet or skin. If you have exposed skin, something falls off of the beaker or falls off the bench onto your feet, you know, you're in trouble straight away. So sensible shoes, okay, no open toe footwear. If you're working with strong acids, strong bases, a lot of you are going to be doing independent work this year as part of your fourth year project. You're going to have that little bit more independence. You'll be working between different labs. You know, PPE, the clues in the title, personal protective equipment, okay, so it's, you know, you have to start taking responsibility for yourself, all right? So working with strong acids, use a full face mask, okay, chemical apron, and neonitrile gloves. They're just a stronger glove. And Aidan here, the technician, is demonstrating the correct garb, and that's available in the technician's office. So if you're going to be using large quantities of sulfuric acid for digestions or anything like that, make sure and wear that equipment. Diphoterine and dye wash stations. Okay, you're going to see a video in a few minutes, kind of summarising that again and how to use it. Acquaint yourself with where they are in the lab. It's never any harm to remind yourself. What I would say is make sure that you're not impeded in getting to it. Okay, so if you're in a lab, particularly if the lab is busy, make sure there's not loads of bags, and you don't want to, you know, break your neck trying to get to the diphoterine. Okay, so diphoterine should be used within 10 seconds for an eye injury. So that's not a lot of time. So, you know, you need clear access to the first aid station. Okay, also take note of other eye wash stations in the lab and try and keep them absolutely clear. If there's an emergency, people tend to panic. You need to be able to get to those first aid stations quickly. Diphoterin, about 1 can does 1 hand or face, so don't spare it. Use as much as is necessary, okay? If you have a chemical spill, we have some Trivorex or some other chemical absorbents are near the first aid station as well. Just be aware where it is. If there is a chemical spill, it'll limit evaporation of a volatile spill, and it'll also help neutralize acids or bases and facilitate the cleanup. Okay, so be aware of where that is. So don't go attacking it with paper towels if it's a large spill. Use the chemical absorbent instead. Fume hoods, okay, keep them tidy and know how the fume hood operates. Okay, it's very important, particularly when there's reactions running in the fume hood, that the sash is down at all times. That's the only time a fume hood is working efficiently. Okay, it's taking air in from the room and exhausting any gases effectively up the chimney and out of the lab. So if the fume hood's open, okay, there's alarms on them that should go off, but make sure the fume hood is working correctly. Make sure the sash is down. Also, if there's a reaction running in the fume hood, if there's a risk of an explosion, well, it's no good if the sash is up. Someone walks past it, and then we have a very bad accident. So make sure that the sash is down, and avoid putting your head into the fume hood. Completely defeats the purpose of it. This is just an example of an individual here who has their sleeves rolled up. One of the places you're going to see a few spills, okay, is on the sash of the fume hood, okay, because there's chemicals going in and out of it. So if your sleeves aren't rolled down and you're getting chemicals on your arms, you're going to end up with burns, and they could be quite nasty. So make sure and use the fume hood correctly. As part of your project, you're going to go through a kind of how to assess chemical risk, but it's never any harm to be familiar with the GHS symbols, okay, on any chemicals that you're dealing with, and there's a GHS chart in every lab. Okay, so if you're working with something, yes, of course, ask your supervisor, but if not, also go to the GHS chart and inform yourself. Okay, it'll give you an idea what the appropriate precautions you should take with that chemical. Okay, so be familiar with the symbols and the chart in each lab. Waste, okay, so this is just the disposing of chemical waste. On the B corridor, we have 2 types of container for waste. We have the chlorinated waste and we have the flammable waste. Okay, so it's important to put the correct waste into the correct container. So dichloromethane, chloroform, chlorphenol, obviously they all go into chlorinated waste. Flammable waste, your alcohols, ketones, esters, ethers, any of those, they go into the flammable waste. Record, okay, the amount of waste going into each container. So there's a logbook in the fume hood beside them. Aqueous waste, okay, on the B corridor, we're still putting those into 5-litre containers. Okay, so at the start of a lab, they'll be put out, and all aqueous waste, so nothing goes down the sink effectively on the B corridor. So everything has to go into the aqueous container, and the container will be removed by the technician at the end. On the W corridor, acidic and basic waste can be neutralized and put down the sink. Okay, so use the sink in the fume hood and flush it, neutralize it, and flush it down with plenty of water. Heavy metals and other toxic waste, again, they'll have to go into a separate container. But we deal with that on a case-by-case basis. No eating or drinking in the lab, and again, try to be tidy. Avoid trip hazards. Okay, keep the labs as tidy as you can. If you're, know people traveling home on the Friday and they rock up with the suitcase. If it can be avoided, avoid it. Okay. The more stuff you have in the lab, the more cluttered it is, the more dangerous it is. Okay. Same goes for labeling. Make sure label your glassware. Only use what glassware is necessary. These are just things you need to remind yourself of. Okay. Label. Initials, date, and a description of contents. That should be on every container. Away from being good lab practice and kind of ensuring you have a successful experiment and that you don't muck it up, if there's a chemical spill, if your beaker gets spilled on somebody else, how do they know what's in it? How does the supervisor know what's in it? Okay, so make sure label. That's very important. Wash your hands when you leave the lab, needless to say, and stay aware of what's happening around you. So communications, again, for working on projects, you're all going to be doing different things, some more dangerous than the others. Just be conscious of what's going on around you. If the person on the other side of the bench doing something that's particularly dangerous, are they particularly dangerous? Okay, make sure that you're aware of what's happening around you. And no listening to music in the lab goes without saying. Okay, if there's obviously for fire alarms or any messages that are given out, if you can't hear it, you won't know what's happening. And that's pretty much it. Any questions? Thank you very much.